This is Justin Case of America Newscape, joining our friend and Lifestyle Luminary Joyce Rockwood for some insight on how she teaches healing from the inside out. Joyce joins us to share an obtainable natural health solution, Joyce's vegan ice cream recipe. Oh my. Greetings, Joyce. Welcome back to America Newscape.
Thank you, and welcome back, but back to my kitchen this time.
What a pleasure. Now we're excited. Even the title of this has got us going, but Joyce, in the past, you've shared some recipes to help us achieve a better lifestyle. Today, you came to share your ever famous decadent, and I say decadent, I'll say decadent 4 times, vegan ice cream recipe, pulling out all the stops I see. So many people struggle with sugar addiction and how to take the steps to move away from eating so many sweets. What are your thoughts on these sweets?
On the dairy-laden sweets. Yeah, so, dairy is something that creates a lot of mucus in the body, right? It's going to set up a breeding ground for the bad bacteria, which is going to set up a breeding ground for infection, for us getting colds, getting sick, and compromising our immunity. And, you see a lot of the documentaries, a lot of the health food documentaries these days talking about, humans being the only living creature that continues to get milk from another living species after it's weaned off the breast of the mother. And it's really, we're really not intended to be taking in milk from other animals after we're weaned off the breast. And, a lot of this mucus that starts to create this obstruction in the body creates all of this inflammation. It also starts to interfere with our oxygen flow, our energy levels, our ability for cells to reproduce, which also sets up a breeding ground for premature aging and disease in the body. And not just that, but there is a beauty factor to how helping your body stay rejuvenated by keeping the cells and the pathways of elimination open, which unfortunately dairy does not do. Okay, so when you're eating a lot of dairy and you're having that combined with with sugar and flour and eggs, it just creates like human glue in the intestinal wall. And that creates, a lot of problems with constipation and bloating and gas and upset, problems with our sleep. And when we hit our teenage years, it starts to become early onset acne, and skin problems can interfere with our sense of confidence. We've talked about those kinds of things as well. And, if our body is being robbed of oxygen because there's so much mucus forming in the tissue, it makes it difficult for the cells to reproduce. And so, when you have injuries, it's harder to recover. There's a whole slew of issues with creating all of this obstruction in the body when you're eating too much dairy. So it's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing. It's so much of what you teach us, Joyce, has to do with making ourselves better people or better us's, and it all plays into it. Sleep, everything, all down the line. The more sleep we get, the prettier we look in the morning. So that being said, what are some steps our audience can take to start making better choices?
Yeah, because sugar is addictive, right? It sets up a whole brainwave of activity that, in order to be happy, those are the foods that you need to eat because they're very emotionally gratifying. And we have all these associations when we eat those foods. And so it's about an entire rewiring and reprogramming of not only the gut microbiome, but also the triggers and the emotions that are being set off. Oftentimes when I start working with new clients, they say things like, what are your guilty pleasures? And it's hard for them to imagine that I don't crave a lot of the foods that they're currently craving. I ate all of those things when I was a kid and before I learned about how to, cleanse my body and detoxify and really properly nourish my body. But I don't crave the things that I used to crave. I don't crave pizza. I don't crave, burgers and things like that. If I do want to eat something that's sweet, and we're going to go into that today with this awesome demo, I wish you were here to actually taste it. But, if I do crave something sweet, I make sure that I have a healthier version of ice cream so that I'm not eating the dairy. I'm not eating the refined sugar, and I'm not eating all of the other mono and diglycerides and other types of things that you see listed in the ingredients of the commercial grade and highly processed sweets on the market. So for anyone who is looking to just take some basic steps to start moving away from their sugar addiction and start integrating some healthier options, the very first step is just that. Start slowly. And it could be that one day out of the week you try non-dairy ice cream. And in the beginning, you're going to probably think it just doesn't taste the same. Well, it doesn't taste the same because it's made with different ingredients. So you're going to have to just open your heart, open your mind to the idea of something different, tasting a little different in the beginning. But just know, as your palate starts to shift, as your body starts to cleanse a lot of the acidity and the pH balance of your body starts to become more alkaline, then these more alkaline foods are going to taste better for you, to you, and you're going to start craving healthier things. And I will say that hands down, one of the easiest ways to start moving through or past any sugar addiction that you might have is to start implementing more greens in your diet. If you're not ready to juice, just start eating some more salads. When you are ready to juice, make sure that those juices have abundant greens, because nothing in the world squashes those sugar cravings like fresh pressed green juices. It balances the blood sugar, it starts to alleviate the poisons, it starts to bring that pH balance back to an alkaline level. And when you put healthier foods in your body, you will start to crave the healthier foods. I promise. That's why I no longer crave a lot of the things that people can't wrap their head around that I don't crave, that they currently crave. It just takes time. So be patient with the process.
You know, Joyce, you talk about the new ice cream versus traditional. Well, I'll call it traditional ice cream, but the
Mm-hmm.
audience doesn't know that I've served as a judge of quite a few ice cream, homemade ice cream, hand cranked contests, and
Oh,
primarily the judging criteria had a lot to do with what it looked like, the texture, and the odor. So and I'm convinced that what you're going to create for us is going to have a great texture, a great odor, and it will look good. So we've got 3 out of 4
yes.
out of the way. So it's going to be easy to fool our minds that this is good stuff, and I'm anxious to try it. So make it. So let's get off. Let's get
I
on with
got
it.
you.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get on with it.
I got you. Okay, so here's what you're going to need, and we're going to have in the show notes the entire recipe for you. So if you want to take notes now, you're welcome to, but we're going to make this easier for you. So the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need some cashews. You've got them here. Remember, we did a segment on raw nuts and raw nut butter, walrus with whiskers. You want raw nuts. Okay, so we've got the raw cashews here. You're going to need 2 cups of those. I've already measured them out. We've got 2 cups of water in our Vitamix. You're going to need for this a high-speed blender, because if you don't have a high-speed blender and you just have a traditional blender, unfortunately, it will not pulverize the nuts enough, and there'll be a lot of little tiny specks and shards. We don't want that. All right. So then you've got, and 2 cups of water. So, and then we're going to do 2 cups of a half cup of maple syrup. And I have this really cool measuring device called a Wonder Cup. I got this years ago when I went to a raw food prep demo in New York City. If anyone wants, I don't know where you get it nowadays, but it's called Metric Wonder Cup. And it's from a company called Milmour Products, Milmour. I think this is a genius measuring tool. It has all of the tablespoon and teaspoon measurements on the side, all the pint to cups equivalents, ounces. I mean, it's so cool. Milliliters, just totally awesome. All right, so maple syrup, cacao powder, almond extract, and then a little bit of pink salt. And we're also going to do some vegan chocolate chips. Super important. I've made sure all of the ingredients, forgot my pink salt, so here we are, I'm off camera. I made make sure that all of your ingredients are vegan if you're really looking to raise the bar on your vitality. And if you're wondering what's the difference between chocolate chips and vegan chocolate chips, well, regular chocolate chips have milk in them. And this brand, which is called Simple Truth Organic, makes them without milk. Okay, so there you go. There's so many ways you can still get your chocolate and not have all that mucus. Sometimes people ask me if they can use cocoa. Okay, so let me just give you a little education on the difference. So this is cacao powder, and it does not get highly processed. It's just made from a fermented bean, no heat. The cocoa powder is darker, and it goes through a process where there's a lot of heat added to the to make it into the powder. Okay, so I typically will use cocoa when I'm going to bake a vegan cake because it's going to get heated anyway. But for today, I'm going to use the cacao because ice cream doesn't get heated. It's going to get chilled. Okay, so let's go through this. We've got 3/4 cup chocolate chips. Now, this is a little trick I'm going to show you. Everyone loves this. What I'm going to do with a 3/4 cup of the chocolate chips is I'm going to put them into my NutriBullet. Okay, and I'm going to turn them. You can leave them as is if you'd like, but I'm going to turn these into chocolate dust.
Yeah,
this is awesome stuff. So I put them in here and then I just pulse it. Okay, now, ooh, still some chunks in there. And you can leave some chunks if you want. Now you have chocolate dust. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, we had Carvel ice cream on the East Coast. And they would make these ice cream cakes, and they would have like vanilla ice cream and then a layer of this chocolate crunchy stuff, and then another layer of ice cream, and then another layer of the chocolate crunchy stuff. So good. So now you've got this chocolate dust, which we're going to use later to, sorry, wrong angle. There we go. To sprinkle into the ice cream. All right, so that's a little trick, number one. All right, now we're going to go into the recipe. So we've got the water in our Vitamix. Next thing we're going to add is our 2 cups of cashews. In you go, boys and girls, into the pool. And then we have a 1/2 cup of maple syrup. Okay, so again, if you can, you buy these things organic. And I'm going to use my Wonder Cup. And just so I don't have to worry about it like spilling over or anything, what I did was so this middle piece, just you move it to the measurement that you need, which is really cool. So I'm going to move it to 1 cup. That way I can fill it halfway and not worry about it spilling over the rim. That's just another little tip. Okay, so here comes our organic maple syrup. Some people want to use a different type of sweetener, monk sugar or honey. I love the flavor, personally, of maple syrup. And so in you go, into the pool. And then what you do is you just press it through. And then with a spatula, you can make sure you get good to the last. I'm a good to the last drop kind of gal. Are you a good to the last drop kind of guy?
I can be. It depends on what that drop is.
Cayenne peppers, I know you like your peppers.
Well,
Okay.
and the only question I had is, how do I find non-organic maple syrup? I mean, if it's maple syrup, it came out of non-organic would come out of a
I always
non-organic
wondered.
tree.
Yeah, I kind of always wondered, like, what, I guess some of the trees that are sprayed with stuff.
I
That's the
would,
truth,
I
right?
would,
Some trees are sprayed with stuff.
It's hard to believe, but I would suggest to people to read their maple syrup labels, because a lot of the syrups you see in the store are made with artificial flavors, artificial
One.
sweeteners, and they're not real maple syrups. So if you're buying 100% maple syrup, I think you're going to be good to
2.
go. And
Yeah,
I also
and
assume that I can
small
substitute
steps.
sea salt for
3.
pink salt, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I just happen to love the flavor of the pink. This is 4. So we're doing 5 tablespoons
Wow.
of our cacao powder. Okay, so there's 5.
And
Everyone's swimming in the pool.
cacao
Okay,
powder is
wonderful.
considered a superfood.
It is. It is a superfood, high in antioxidants. Good stuff. Okay, next we're going to do our almond extract. I've even got that as an organic option here. We're going full power. We're going to do a tablespoon. We're just going to pour that right in. I know some people are like, you shouldn't pour it over the top of the. You should pour it in a separate bowl. I'm going to break a rule. All right, and then I'm also going to add in, just because I feel like it, which I didn't have out, I'm going to add in a little bit of my vanilla extract. We Geminis like to flow.
And
Okay. And what were we going to say?
And I would hope that's organic vanilla extract.
Yeah. And I'm just going to put in a little bit of the salt. And I just do a tiny pinch. The reason we do the salt is it just kind of opens up and enhances our flavors a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Now we're ready to go. So here's the thing I want to point out. Some people might be wondering why I put the nuts in there with all of the ingredients, because a lot of times people will make their nut milk from scratch. Now, when I use I chose cashews for a reason here, everyone, because cashews pulverize into dust. I don't need to do a separate step where I run them through a nut milk bag after. Okay, if you're using almonds, you're going to do almonds and water alone first, then run them through either a strainer or your nut milk bag, then put that milk back in your blender, and then add in all your other ingredients. Okay, but cashews, love them. Pulverize into dust. No need to strain them. Now it's going to get loud.
Okay.
we're going to we're going to just pulverize this into a beautiful mix. Okay, and that's it. That's how long
Okay.
that takes. Okay, this whole thing is very quick. And now what you're going to do, you're going to also need, in addition to this incredible Vitamix, you're also going to want to have some kind of an ice cream maker. Okay, so I have, not endorsing the product. This is not an ad. Maybe I should reach out to them and see if they want me to do that. But I have the Cuisinart frozen yogurt ice cream and sorbet maker. Okay, that's the one I have. I've used it for years. I absolutely love it. And when you get it, you have this middle piece container, which I've been keeping nice and cold. You keep this in the freezer, but I pulled it out for the sake of today's segment. This is what's going to go in your freezer, and this is metal here in the middle, and then in between, there's like a layer in between where there's like a liquid that gets really, really cold. So you keep that in your freezer. You put this on top. This is your little ice cream mixer centerpiece. It fits there inside as well. And then you put on your lid, and you're going to turn this on, and you're going to probably need this to go for a good 20 minutes or so. It's going to turn this liquid into at least a soft serve. It won't
Yeah.
make it like frozen ice cream. So you're going to want to make sure that goes into your freezer so that it can solidify probably for at least 4 hours, maybe longer. All right. So I'm going to pour this in a moment, but before I do, I want to show you one other little thing, one other little secret. I'm going to use this dish, okay? Normally, I actually would keep this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to actually keep this in the freezer for a bit while I show you. I'm going to show you how I make, I don't even know what to call it, but it's like chocolate sauce, frozen chocolate sauce, okay?
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is, so you ever have ice cream and they have like that layer over the ice cream that's like chocolate that freezes and turns into like a crunchy mold, the top of that? You ever have that?
Me? No. But I'm sure others
Okay.
have. We don't have,
You know,
no, the Western United States
they
doesn't
have,
have Carville ice cream.
yeah, but they have other, I feel like other companies do this. They make it and then they dip it in the liquid chocolate and then it just freezes. Okay, well,
Oh,
I'm going to show
dipped
you.
cones, dip cones. We know what that. Everybody, we all know
Yeah.
what that is. Those are those nasty cones we
Okay.
get at Dairy Queen that have that waxy chocolate coating on them.
So here, I've got
Okay.
this little dish and I just poured in some organic coconut oil. Okay, now what I'm going to do to this is I'm going to add, and I'm just kind of winging it here, but maybe about 4 tablespoons of the oil, and then we're going to do a couple of teaspoons of the they're like heaping teaspoons of the cacao powder, and then I kind of wing it, but if you need measurements, just do equal measurements, and then you can always adjust it. About a teaspoon of the sugar, of the maple syrup, the sweetener, if you will. And then I'm just going to mix this up, and it's going to turn into chocolate sauce.
Cool.
Okay? Now, when you pour your ice cream into your mold or container, or whatever you're going to pour it into, You can pour in about half of the mixture after it goes through the ice cream maker. We're going to get that going in a moment. And then you can drizzle this on that first layer. It's going to look amazing. And then you can pour more of the ice cream mixture on top of it. And then you can pour and drizzle some more of this chocolate sauce on top of that. And I'm going to
Wow.
show you what the finished product looks like at the very end of this segment. So now, and part of the reason we become a chef is because we have to taste these things. Perfect. I wouldn't
Nice.
change a thing.
Okay.
Okay? If you want, you can add a little cinnamon to that. That's another little trick. All right, so that's your
And a
little chocolate sauce
small
action.
pinch of salt if you want, just to bring out that
Yeah, let
chocolate
me
flavor.
just put a little salt in there. See? That's why I need my assistant.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to get the middle, the ice cream maker middle.
That's a technical
This.
term, and that's an industry term. We call that the ice cream maker middle. Goes into the ice
And
cream
we
maker
are,
bottom.
all right. And then we are going to pour this in and we're going to turn it on. It's going to be a little noisy, so here we go. And then we just pour in the mixture. And it's turning and churning in there. It's going to do its thing. And yes, if you wanted to taste this, it's amazing. It just tastes like chocolate milk. This is like a thick chocolate milk. Now, can you hear me over this churning?
I can. We can.
Okay.
The churning is there, but
Okay. So this is going to churn for, like I said, about 20 minutes. Depending on where you are, like I have to typically turn the AC on here in Phoenix when I'm going to make ice cream a little cooler because the atmosphere, if it gets too warm, it never really turns into anything. It'll stay liquid. All right. So keep that in
well,
mind. Sometimes the atmospheric conditions are
well,
important.
atmospheric conditions, barometric pressure, altitude all play a role in turning ice cream.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to shut this off for a moment.
Okay.
And typically, we'd let that go for the full 20. Would you like me to show you what the finished product looks
I
like?
would, but let's keep the suspense up a little bit. So
Okay.
my base of this is actually the maple, the nuts of
Yes.
this ice cream, and the water. But I could add, instead of the cacao, I could add a puree of blueberries. I could add a puree of.
Well, if we're doing proper food combining, and the Rinse Princess is all about it, I would keep the fruit out of the
Okay,
mix.
no nuts and fruit. All right.
Because you've got nut milk in there, and it's going to create a lot of gas and bloating, and it's a mess.
Okay. Okay. But if I
But
understand.
look, small steps, right?
Exactly. And the other thing,
And that's it. Well, let me
well,
just say, and that's it. Like if you are moving from dairy to a non-dairy option and you're not properly food combining 100%, that's still an improvement
right,
because we're looking at the quality of the ingredients you're eating. So I want
right.
to say that.
Okay.
Okay. Progress, not perfection.
And
What
the
were you
other
going to say?
thing for you green livers out there, if you don't want to use
Mm-hmm.
electricity making this ice cream to save the planet, you can do this in a hand crank machine. You just are going to make your slurry mix and you're going to put it in a hand crank machine and crank it. And if you have kids, you need to go on the internet and look up Kick the Can Ice Cream Maker, which is
Kick the
basically
can ice cream maker.
which is 2 coffee cans, a small coffee can, a large coffee can. The large coffee can is filled with ice and salt to make it colder. The small can is 80% filled with your ice cream mix. That can is taped shut with its lid. It's placed in the big can. That can is taped shut, and the kids go out into the yard and they kick the can around for about 20 minutes. They need to stay after it, and lo and behold, when it's all said and done and they open it up, they'll have kicked the can and made their own ice cream.
Amazing. What a story.
What a
I have
story,
one other tip. If we're not making chocolate ice cream,
right?
and you're doing a vanilla version, it's very simple. Leave out the cacao powder,
Right.
okay? And then you have vanilla. And I'm a huge fan of mint chip. So what I do is I add in 1 to 2 drops, depending on how much ice cream I'm making, of my peppermint essential oil. Oh my God, it is so refreshing and so delicious. I
Okay.
absolutely love it. So that's another little way to get your mint chip in.
Well, and you have lots of essential oils that are food grade that'll actually work to enhance the flavors of these ice creams, lemon, cinnamon, on down the line.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You
So,
could
so
do like you probably could do like a lime, something with a lime. That would be fun for the
just
summer, refreshing.
just call it sorbet when you're done.
There you go.
Okay,
Vanilla with lime, something.
Joyce, why
Do you
don't
have any
you?
other questions for me?
I don't. I'm excited. I'm excited to try your perfected lifestyle vegan ice cream, but and then I will corrupt it with some fruits and things like that, and create some sorbets for myself. But
Whee!
this is exciting, and I think people will love the flavor. They just have to. They may have to just
Yeah.
a little bit benefit of the doubt. Now, if you're eating cheap ice cream from the supermarket, then you probably will find this taste much better. If you're used to Ben and
Yeah, and let me
Jerry's,
also yeah,
go.
and let me also say, traditional ice cream, of course, because it is made with milk and cream, it is very creamy. Okay. This ice cream will be a little less creamy, but there are ways to make it creamier. There's actually an avocado based ice cream. You can make it with coconut milk. Even if you don't have like cashews and one of these high speed blenders, all you need to do to make vegan ice cream out there is buy coconut milk, even if it's in a can. That's still better than eating dairy. Okay. So, again, there's always a way to transition into something healthier if you don't have the ability to buy these kinds of pieces of equipment right away. Because look, a Vitamix is an investment. I've had mine since 1996, and it's the same one, but it was about $400, right? But for me, I knew I was going to have this thing for life, pretty much, and so far so good. Knock on wood, wherever it all is. So I wanted to make sure I could have it because it's become a very vital tool in the process of my health journey. Uh, Quite honestly, ice cream makers you can buy for like $50, so they're not too expensive. Um, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So just allow yourself that opportunity to try something new and know that it might not be as creamy, but you'll get used to that.
Well, and I have the Super Bullet Grande. I never could justify getting a Vitamix, and it has the capacity, and it will actually make this properly. You just have to be patient. If you're going to take cashews and pulverize them in the Super Bullet Grande, it takes about 2 or 3 minutes, but it will slowly transform.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't have. This is a NutriBullet, but that one might be a powerful unit that I might not be familiar with. So
Right,
you're
right.
gonna make it work.
Okay, Joyce, before we get out of here, you better show us the marvelous ice cream that you've made. Show us the finished product, please.
Yeah, and didn't you do something special this week with teachers too? I'll
Well,
show you that finished product.
I, I did, and we're going to ask Joyce to weigh in on this one after we get to see this ice cream.
Okay, show you the ice cream first.
Right. This is what
So
we're here for.
I made this in advance for everyone so you can see what this looks like. Now you can use any container you want. You can even they have these really cool molds. You could buy molds and just pour the liquid into the molds. So what I did was I poured in the ice cream. This is the vanilla mint chip, okay? And then I took my chocolate syrup, as I showed you, right? And I just drizzled that randomly right on top. And it actually
Pretty cool.
it looks really pretty if you get a close look. I mean, maybe it's like I have a new career coming in here for vegan desserts. And then what you're going to do when you're ready to scoop this, what I like to do, you can use a traditional ice cream scoop, or you can buy one of these ballers.
Balls. Baby scoop.
It's like a meat baller, but I'm vegan, so I just
It,
call it, maybe it's
it
like a melon baller.
it's a melon baller, people. But
And what you can do is you might need to wait like 5 or 10 minutes for this to soften a little to scoop it. But if not, then you can just scoop it right out, and you can plate it with like 4 or 5 of the balls in a bowl or on a plate, and then just sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon across the plate for some really pretty plating. And you're ready to go. And people are going to be like, wow, how did you make this? It is so amazing.
well,
And
and
Mother's Day is coming up. So, now you have a
make
new
make
idea.
make some moms some vegan ice cream. And then the other thing with your baller or your scoop, a very
Yeah.
hot, bowl of hot water. You actually dip your scoop in there and then go into your ice cream. And as long as it's warm enough, you keep scooping away. And if you want to
Yes.
garnish and you want to be one of the cool kids, nothing wrong with a piece of fresh mint, a piece of fresh
Mm-hmm.
peppermint, or a leaf of fresh peppermint, or a leaf of fresh chocolate mint, and you're styling. I mean, you've laid out something that everybody should be excited about and proud of. Okay, back to Teachers Appreciation. We've done a lot of interviews of some remarkable teachers this month. And when I stop, or this week, and when I stop to think about it, and this week is Teachers Appreciation Week. Joyce has been teaching me for the past, as long as I've known her. She's laying out stuff, and it's always news to me. So she is a teacher in her own right. So I'd like Joyce to weigh in on Teacher Appreciation Week.
Sure. Well, you think about it. My father's side of the family, laden lovingly with all teachers, starting all the way at the helm with the matriarch, my grandma Hilda, school teacher. And then she had 4 kids. So my dad's 3 siblings are all teachers. And 2 of those siblings married. One of those siblings married a teacher. And all of my cousins on that side of the family, 1, 2, 3, 4 of my cousins on that side of the family, actually 5, still counting, are teachers. I have teachers everywhere in my family. And, teachers are, they are the formative luminaries. They form our lives. You think about it, a lot of times the amount of hours teachers spend with children is sometimes more hours than the parents get to spend, right? And I think about the teacher in my life that was very influential was my 3rd grade teacher, Mr. Michael Rudder. He was such a powerful teacher. My brother had him before I did. My brother's 3 years older. There's a bug in my kitchen.
It's a vegan ice cream fly.
He's like, can I get some of that chocolate syrup?
There you go.
Don't swim in my syrup wherever you are. He's doing the backstroke in my syrup. No, I'm kidding. Mr. Michael Rudder was such a powerful teacher for my brother. My mother went into the principal's office when I was assigned a different 3rd grade teacher. We used to get our teacher for the next year on our report cards at the end of the summer. My mother went into the principal's office and not demanded, but highly recommended and suggested and requested that I be moved into Mr. Rudder's class because my brother's experience with him was so powerful. He sang in class with us, played guitar, taught us the arts. He had an arts class on the weekend on a Saturday that you could take outside of school. It was a private class that all us kids took. We learned so much from him about the arts and creativity and mind expansion. He is forever in my heart. And he's one of the teachers that we've always stayed in touch with. He actually came to my brother's bar mitzvah years later. And we still keep in touch with him. And so I hope, anyone out there who's had an amazing teacher in their life, if you were watching this, you had an amazing teacher in your life, you've reached out to them to let them know what an impression they made, how much of a big difference that would make for them to know. So we love our teachers.
Yeah, we do. And as we mature, we recognize the wonderful contributions they gave us as we look back. And that's why they deserve love and hugs. And for those of you that haven't seen Joyce interview her father, she may have all these teachers, and you may think Joyce is a really cool, down-to-earth lady, but it's her dad. Her dad is Mr. Cool, and he is a remarkable man. If you want to learn something about Joyce's dad, his name is David Spindell. And you might look up David Spindell photography. I consider him a friend and a great man. And he and Joyce's mom have created what's before you. Joyce Spindell. Joyce Rockwood.
Yeah, and my brother too. They're amazing people. Thanks for the pops shout out. Yeah, he's an amazing guy. And he has definitely been one of my greatest teachers.
And one of the coolest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah, I mean, he taught me what it means to be independent, to follow your heart, and to take your passion and turn it into a profession.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've always believed that you should be able to earn a living at what you love doing. So here I am.
Okay. Everybody, thank you. Thank you, Joyce, for this. Okay. Wait. Any other thoughts you care to share?
Another thing.
Yeah. How do you?
Last thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, in the show notes, you'll find the recipe so that you can make your own vegan ice cream from scratch and all these easy steps. I got it all laid out for you.
Right. And if you want some cool alterations, message me. So, okay. Hey, this has been Justin Case and Joyce Rockwood sharing Joyce's nutritious and delicious vegan ice cream recipe. Thanks for joining us. Remember, free gifts and additional information, including this recipe, are provided in this video's Read More. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected, and please connect with Joyce in the links below so you can learn a few healthy suggestions on how not to go bananas.